So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our speaker, Breanna Cersei, and we're so excited. She is from Love and Logic, and she is a Love and Logic facilitator. Her degree is in Christian leadership, and she has served for over 15 years in family ministry as a minister of junior high and a minister of children's. She currently teaches at St. Andrew's Preschool in Newport Beach. She has 2 children and is passionate about supporting parents and children. She loves everything that has to do with water, roller coaster, Mexican food, and finding the best cookie on the planet. I was sold when I laughed because I'm such a cookie person. So thank you. We're going to let her take it away and enjoy.
Thank you. It is good to be here with you all in this crazy season. Oh, good morning. So again, my name is Breanna Cersei. I have an 11-year-old girl and a 9-year-old boy, and I have been implementing Love and Logic with them in my household since they were about 4 or 5. So kind of really learning the ropes, and then have been teaching it to parents for a couple years now. So it's good to be with you this morning. I would like this to be as interactive as possible. So we'll do question and answer at the end. I'm going to do my best to give you a full 6-week series in about 20 minutes. So it is fire hose, it is top level information, but I think we learn the best through question and answer, right? We all have our own stories, but parenting is very similar, right? We have the same struggles. We kind of deal with the same things on a daily basis, and I think that's how we learn, is through learning from each other. So we'll do that at the end. I know that this is MOPS, so you have preschool age kids, but super quick, I'd love to see kind of where we're at in the room with siblings and age of children. So if you have a child who's newborn to 2 years old, will you raise your hand? Okay. If you have 2 to 5, that's probably our big, yep. Okay. If you have 5 to 10, if you have somebody in that range. If you have 10 to 16, do we have any older? Okay. Okay, thanks. That's what I thought, just wanted to make sure. I would like you to think about this statement. When it comes to parenting, I struggle most with. When it comes to parenting, I struggle the most with. Do we have any really brave people who would be willing to answer? Oh, yes, okay. Yeah. Patience. Fair enough, yes.
Being on the same page with my husband.
How to parent. Yes, being on the same page with a significant other, absolutely. Any others? Yes?
With my daughter's timeline is similar to what I want to do, how fast I want to move, that really frustrates me.
When the 3-year-old's timeline is different than yours, is that what I heard?
Yeah, that's literally what I said. But
No, yeah.
Coming out, but
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Are you kidding?
her urgency
Yes.
is not my urgency.
100%. Yep, that makes sense. Any others? Great. Yeah. Following through. Yeah. Amen. Got it. Okay, thank you. There are so many different theories, practices, strong opinions. There are countless books, blogs, pins, posts on parenting, right? There's a gazillion styles of parenting I could come up here and talk to you about today. I remember when I had Emma, I had postpartum depression with her, and I was fully overwhelmed with being a mom. I always tell the story that if anybody was set up to be a mom, it was me, not to brag, but I went to school for it, right? My education was there. My mom is a preschool director. My ex-husband, my husband at the time, was a school teacher. We were kid-oriented. That was our expertise. Being a mom bulldozed me. I didn't know what to do. Breastfeeding was crap. It was hard for me. It was all hard. I was checking off the poop calendar. Right? It was just all the things, you guys. I didn't do it well, and I thought I should have known how to do it well. And so I became obsessed with trying to figure out how to do it perfectly, and it threw me into depression. So I come here, and I always want to start my Love and Logic talks with saying, this is what has worked for me. Every Love and Logic facilitator would come up and have a different spin. Every household has a different spin of what works for them. This is what works for me, and I want to share that with you in the hopes that one thing might work for you too. So we have to try to cut through the noise sometimes of being the perfect parent and try to figure out what we need to do as people so that we can overflow in a healthy way to our kids. So, on one hand, I want to encourage you to follow your gut as a mom. And on the other hand, I want to give you some tools this morning to do that, if they work for you. My goal for parenting is to raise my kids to be healthy adults. Healthy in heart, mind, body, soul. I want to enjoy them, and I want them to enjoy me. That is the goal. I am coming up, again, 11 and 9-year-olds, so I'm shifting. My parenting is shifting as they become teenagers, right? I'm becoming less of needing to be the hands-on parent and becoming more of a coach, right? I need to listen more. I need to step back a little more and be there for them in different ways because I want them to start trusting themselves. And that is what I love about Love and Logic, is it teaches them to start trusting themselves and know that I will love them and be there for them no matter what. Because the relationship with our kids is the most important. We were talking at our table a little bit. Our kids get told what to do, in my opinion, all day, every day. They do. Put yourself in the mind and the body of a kid. They get told what to do all day, every day. Can you imagine what that would feel like? Can you imagine what that would feel like if somebody came in and said, go take a bath right now? Have you done your homework? Make sure you brush your teeth, right? Like, those things aren't bad. My kids would literally never bathe if I didn't tell them. I need to tell them. But putting myself in their shoes and that love part, I also am building a relationship with them, right? That's what I love about Love and Logic. Loving them, relationship, teaching them logic, right? The two things. So you have a handout on your table. Make sure that's in front of you. We will go through that a little bit. The most successful parents, like I said, take good care of themselves. They set and enforce limits. They hold their kids accountable for misbehavior. They do all these things in a very loving way. They know that kids are ready to start learning responsibility as soon as they are old enough to spit beats across the table. I'm sure none of your kids have ever thrown anything off the high chair of the table, right? Just kidding. The first one is what I want to spend 1 minute just taking a deep breath and letting it sink in. The most successful parents take good care of themselves. I just want that to settle in. The most successful parents take good care of themselves. We can only parent from a healthy place. If we are not healthy ourselves, we might need to ask for help. We might need to go to therapy. We might need to carve out time for ourselves. We are not superheroes. We have limits, we have needs, and that is okay. Please take good care of yourself. You are worth it. Your kids are worth it. Your marriage is worth it. Your friendships are worth it. You are worth it. Love and Logic is also about learning to love yourself. So, successful parents take care of themselves. They also set limits and they hold kids accountable. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Proverbs 13:24 says, "A refusal to correct is a refusal to love. Love your children by disciplining them." Proverbs 29:17, "Discipline your children. You will be glad you did. They will turn out delightful to live with." I love that. Sorry. I love the Bible. Right? Discipline your kids. You'll be glad you did. They'll be delightful to be with. Right? This is not a judgment, because I see it in my own kids, but we all know people who have probably not been disciplined. Right? We also probably know people who have been disciplined to too much of the extreme. So it's just finding that balance for us and our family. Because because we want them to be delightful to live with. This isn't in my notes, but I think this is helpful to say. Parenting is about putting deposits in your kid's bank account, and you will not see the interest most likely until they're older. That verse for me is the reminder. Your kid will continue to have the same tantrum for days, weeks, months, maybe years, right? And the more you are continue to set that logic part, those limits, you are putting little deposits in their bank account as people over and over and over again. That's why you have to take care of yourself, because you might not see the interest being paid out till later, right? That's the delightful to live with, might not be till later. Recently gone through a divorce, single moms, woohoo. I might not see the fruits of my therapy and my work right now, but gosh, I hope God gives me a little taste later, right? They can't understand all that's going on right now. My kids, they're not supposed to. But I hope that when they look back or when they ask questions later, they're able to see parts of it, of my work that I've done. Does that make sense? Same for all of you with parents, parenting in general. So, love. The love part of love and logic. Do you show love every day through your home environment, physical touch, words, actions, modeling? One of the greatest ways to show kids love is through play. Kids are wired for play. At my preschool that I teach at, we play all day, huge chunks of time. They are learning through that play. Math, science, language, right? All through play. Your kids will be connected to you because of play. When you take them to the beach and you build a sandcastle with them for 10 minutes and then read a magazine, you are showing that they are important, because if you went to the beach by yourself, you wouldn't build a sandcastle, right? I mean, maybe you would. No judgment. If you go to the beach by yourself and you build a sandcastle, no judgment. I will be reading a magazine. But if I go with my kids, I'm going to give them 10 minutes, 15 minutes, right? And I'm going to build a sandcastle, and then I'm going to read a magazine, right? If we do that throughout the day, we are connecting with them through play. The three E's of love and logic. Example. Kids learn far more from example we set than the lectures that we give. Experience. The road to wisdom is paved with mistakes. Mistakes made early in life are far more affordable than the mistakes made later in life. This was a big, helpful one for me for love and logic. When the kids are throwing things off their high chair, that's a very affordable mistake. When the kid is even hitting their brother at 4 years old, that's an affordable mistake. As they grow older, they become, the consequences become bigger. Empathy. Empathy allows kids to learn from their mistakes. Anger allows them to blame us for their problems. Oh, that one's true. And sometimes that's hard for me, but it's true. Empathy allows kids to learn from their mistakes. This is how our brain works. But anger allows them to blame us for their problems. So the more we can show empathy and keep our anger for somewhere else, the more they actually learn. Because when we get angry, their brain shuts off. They're not hearing you anymore. So we'll talk about how to do that in a couple minutes. I'm gonna be real honest, you guys, I'm not in my notes. I got too into it. I like the energy in this room. I'm gonna find my place. I feel like moms are the best people to talk to because they're like, we get you, we get you. And I just really appreciate that. So let me find my spot. Okay. So, best thing for successful parents to do is to deliver a dose of empathy or sadness for their child before describing a consequence. This is one of the takeaways I want you to think about that might work for you. okay? I want you to keep it simple, and I want you to find something that has worked. So some of the things are on the bottom of this page. We'll talk about brain dead in a minute, but I want to do the empathetic one-liner. You can say, "This is so sad." Or if they're really young, you could say, "Uh-oh," or "Poor thing." Mine was, "What a bummer." I still say it sometimes. Sometimes my kids say it back to me, which is really fun as they get older. "What a bummer." Here's the thing. There's a couple reasons for this. This gives you a minute to take a deep breath because you have chose something that you are always going to say when you see something that's not appropriate for your household. Your 3-year-old hits your 5-year-old. "Uh-oh," right? And then it starts to signal to the kids, "Mom wasn't happy about that." But it gives you a minute instead of, "What are you doing?" What a bummer. This is maybe the most important for me. This cannot be said in sarcasm. The kids smell it. They feel it, right? You can't be like, "What a bummer." You're going to your room, like, "Uh-oh." Like, you can't do that. Again, brain shuts off. That's not the point of this. If you can take a deep breath, I know that that's easier said than done, but if you can go brain dead and say, just have that come out of your mouth instantly, "Uh-oh, what a bummer," then it gives you a second to breathe. Maybe the most important and valuable thing you will learn from Love and Logic, in my opinion, is those steps. Go brain dead, take a breath, have that one-liner so you are reacting in some way, but you are showing empathy for the situation. Keep repeating that if it fits. "Uh-oh, what a bummer." If it keeps escalating, you are staying there and you are saying the same thing over and over. Here's the thing. We are human too. We do not have to have the magical answers at the moment. We do not have to have the magical consequence at the moment. It is more important that we go brain dead, stay calm, and say the same. I'd rather honestly say the same thing 10 times for 10 minutes because in my brain I'm like, "What am I gonna do?" Right? But I'm just saying the same. What a bummer. What a bummer. What a bummer. Because it gives me time to think. It's okay for your kids to know that you need time to think. Because the other option, right, is us probably blowing up. So if we're going to pick between the two options, it's okay for you to take a break. It's okay for you to go brain dead. It's okay for you to say the one-liner. Keep repeating the one-liner as the child argues or is screaming, and if the child continues, walk away. If you want to turn that sheet over. With warnings and reminders, so this is kind of like the next thing, right? On getting into the consequences too. We want to set limits once. So if we say, "What a bummer," with the hitting, for instance, we go brain dead, we say, "What a bummer." We say, and this is more up to you and your household. I don't give a ton, like especially with hitting. My kids know. My kids still hit each other, you guys. I wish that phase was over as toddlers. Like, it's not. They know. They're not going to get a, "You hit again and you're really in trouble." Like, they know. Like, hitting is not acceptable in my household. There will be a consequence. Because I have learned, and I'm not perfect at it, but I have learned that if I continue to give warnings, then they just know Mom's going to give me 3 free passes until a consequence comes. So once you have set the limit or the warning, you're going to follow through with that. Side note, when you are thinking through consequences, try to have some in your back pocket for things that happen all the time. One time I took my kids to Disneyland. We used to have passes before it was so crazy expensive. And I told Emma, I honestly don't even remember. She was probably 4, and I don't even remember what she did. But I remember saying, "You do that again, we're leaving Disneyland." She did it again. And we left Disneyland. We left Disneyland. And I was so bummed at myself, right? Because I gave a huge consequence because I was angry and wanted to show her how serious I was, my 4-year-old. And then she did it again, and we were walking out of Disneyland. And who was bummed? She was, but we were more, right? So I could have said a gazillion other things. What a bummer. Girls who hit don't get ice cream. Like, what a bummer. Like, girls who hit, like, don't get to ride the ride. Like, there's consequences. Like, I can't hit my coworker. There's going to be a consequence, right? So I got to bring it down to a 4-year-old level. But think through your consequences if you can before you give them, or you will be bummed like me. Giving choices. This goes back to what I said earlier a little bit. Kids get told what to do all day in school. I understand why. The more choices we can give our kids, the better. Kids want power. That is not bad. We want power. We want atonement, we want power over our own life, right? Like, we want to feel like we can dress ourselves. We can do our hair the way we want. This is just my opinion. For me and my household, my kids get to pick whatever clothes they want. It's not worth it for me. Literally, my son went to preschool in underwear one day. I brought clothes in a backpack. It's real. He didn't want to put clothes on, went to preschool in his underwear, got there, realized he was the only one in underwear, wanted to put the clothes on I had in my backpack. True story. His choice, right? It's hilarious now, and I wish I would have taken a picture, but not in a shamed way. Like, it was just his choice. He learned. I had clothes for him. Over and over and over again. Same with food. I'm not going to cook you your own meal, but for me and my household, like, you eat what you want. Kitchen closes at 7. You can grab a fruit or a vegetable till then if you want. You can eat when you're hungry. I'll have one meal prepared for you at a certain time. Over and over. What seat in the car do you want to sit? Do you want to sit in the back row? Do you want to sit over and over and over again? How many choices can I give my kids so that I can actually say truthfully, this one's not a choice, guys. We got to go to the doctors. This one's not a choice. But I've given you choices all day long. Again, is it about me and that I want my daughter to look a certain way? Or is it about her as a person, letting her decide, right? Coming across at 11 years old, so ask me in a couple years what I think about her clothes, right? But that's something I hope I can have a conversation with her about instead of shame. Give them choices. Simple ones here. Do you want to wear a blue or a green shirt today? Do you want milk or juice? Do you want to leave now or in 3 minutes? That one, underline it. That is gold. Use that all the time. You're at a park, they don't want to go. Do you want to go in 1 minute or 3 minutes? You guys, they think they're in charge. It's lovely. It's lovely. And sometimes if they're young enough, they pick 1 minute because they don't know the difference. And it's great. Set a timer. They can see it. Use it all the time. Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
For the shirts, for example, so you bring out a blue shirt and a green shirt.
Yeah.
You say which one you want, and they go, I want that one. Choose a different one in the closet.
Yeah.
What do you recommend?
Yeah. So this is more like my personal.
Yes, and that's all.
I'd let them choose the shirt. Unless it's photos, right? Unless it's family pictures, then it's I get to choose. But normally I just let them choose. If you don't in the household, though, and that's something like you want to do, is just these 2 shirts, then you just have to say something like, these are your 2 choices today. These are your 2 choices today. But in my opinion, I leave that for when it really matters. Is that helpful? Yeah. I mean, my son wanted to wear the princess dress, right? Like, I just didn't care about that personally. Yeah, because it's a power thing, right? It's a power, and that's, I think, the heart of it for me is where can I give them power to choose? And if it is because the power that the line I want to draw is these 2, then I have to be ready to enforce that with the 2 shirts. But for me, it's a power thing. How much power can I give them? Because they don't have a lot. And I want them to experience that. That's why I went to school in his underwear. And then he figured it out. I hope that's helpful. Okay, always after 2 choices. You are in charge of those 2 choices, unless it's things like the clothes, I let them choose. If your child doesn't choose in 10 seconds, choose for them. I actually use this in my class, right? So we don't force kids to share in preschool. They're not ready for that. They don't understand what that means. So we take turns. A kid has a horse, and the other kid wants the horse. He doesn't have to share the horse until he's done. But when he's done, he can give a turn to Johnny, right? This is similar, a little different, but similar when the adult's in charge. So blue and green shirt, you want them to choose between the two. If you can't decide, I'm going to choose for you. That's okay. Otherwise, you would lose your mind, right, battling everything. Count to 10 out loud. If they can't choose, you choose for them. Be ready for that fight. But again, you're putting deposits in their bank account, knowing that there's limits to things. Hope I'm explaining that. Okay. Steps for the uh-oh song for younger kids. This is pretty self-explanatory. This is like, pre-language, really, so babies. Instead of threats, it's just really like, uh-oh, because again, they can sense the anger and their brain starts to shut off. So you're just, uh-oh, and you gently lead the child to the room, to their spot. Maybe it's you just hold them, they take a break, whatever that feels like for you. I used to give my kids the choice all the time. Do you want an open door? Do you want a closed door? Do you want me to sit in the room with you? Do you want me to sit outside with you, right? It's never a shame. It's never a get in your room, close the door. It looks like you might need some time. Right? You aren't allowed to kick mom. You aren't allowed to punch mom. It looks like you might need some time to cool down. I can sit in here with you, or I can sit outside. I can close the door, I can open the door, depending on the ages. The uh-oh is like for the food, right, off the high chair. Uh-oh, pick up the food, it goes on your plate. They don't get the food back, right? Your child will not starve. They will slowly start to learn, when I throw food off the table, I don't get it back. Uh-oh. But in the scheme of life, them throwing food off the high chair is not that big of a deal. It's frustrating for us in the moment, but take a deep breath. Teach them, uh-oh, when we throw food, we don't get it back, right? Because also know that babies, that's a cause and effect. They're also learning. So they're not saying, God, I hate mom's chicken, and I'm throwing it on the floor to make her mad. Like, that is not what they're doing in their brain. They're like, I wonder what would happen if I put the chicken down here, right? So when we switch it, that's true as they even get older. The kids are not throwing a temper tantrum saying, I really want to make mom mad. They're saying, I'm angry inside, and I don't know how to handle it, and I need help handling it. So we give the one-liners, we give the empathy, we give the love, and then we give the consequence. Okay, last thing. 5 steps for kids to solve their own problems. Lock in the empathy. Lock in that one phrase, the what a bummer. Ask your child, what are you going to do? I use this a lot now at my kids' age, and I have for years. What are you going to do now? They don't. They have the answers inside of them. They need to be able to try to figure it out on their own. They need to be able to see what works and what doesn't with friends, with family members. And then if the child says, I don't know, you can say, would you like to hear some ideas? I have some ideas. And then you can say the ideas according to the situation. I like this one. If you offer more than 3 solutions, ask, how would that work for you? And allow the child to choose. Allow the child to try. Last couple things before we do question and answer. It's okay to delay the consequence if you need time to think. I'm giving you a 6-week series, like in a small condensed version. But there's a couple things in Love and Logic that if you have the same thing happening all the time, you can create a game plan. Like if your kid is always late to school because they're not, getting there in time, like they're not putting their shoes on in time, whatever it might be, or the hitting, right? Or the yelling, like you can create this game plan. It's gonna take you asking for help, right? So if the kid's always late for school and you're always feeling like you're rushing your kid to get to preschool, then maybe you don't one day and you have a backup plan. And you have a backup plan for the sibling, and you have somebody, a babysitter, or somebody who, don't pick like the fun aunt, right, that they want to hang out with. Pick somebody who knows, who's part of the plan, who will come over and just sit with them. And maybe they miss preschool and they're bored for a while because you are like, oh, it's time to go. I'm taking Johnny with me. Johnny's ready. You're not ready today. Oh, here's blah, blah, blah. They come in, sit on the couch for an hour. Like, take the time to think through what consequence will my kids care about and how do I make sure that happens if it's a repeating issue. Does that make sense? Take the time to think it through. Ask mom to come over. Ask sister to come over. Ask husband to stay home. I don't know what that might look like for you. I'm happy to talk that through. I had to do that a couple times with my neighborhood. I literally would have a neighbor come over, and I would go over to their house, and I would just sit. I remember sitting on the floor one time while one of our neighborhood kids was destroying his room. And can you imagine his shock when he opened up the door and saw me and not mom? Just stood there. This is a bummer. He was like, oh, right? Like, I don't like the way you're treating your things. I don't like the way you're treating your mom. Shocked. Did he throw a tantrum again? Of course, right? It's not like a one-time thing, but that was a shock value for him. And he knew mom and I are on the same team. Mom means business when she calls Breanna. And we would do the same thing to each other, right? I mean, that little 3-year-old was like, I can't believe it. So do that as a community. Okay. I'm going to move into question and answer time, but I just want to say, think of the mistakes that your kids make now as an amazing opportunity to put deposits in their life account. You may not see the interest, like I said, 4 years, but you are doing the work. Take a deep breath. Tell yourself you're doing a good job. Take care of yourself. Take a tool or two to use in your home. Right? I am right there with you, you guys. I have read all of this. I've gone to the conferences. I have done all the things. And my 11-year-old just last night told me, I hate this family. She literally goes, I hate this family. You guys. And I'm like, I'm going to speak to a bunch of moms tomorrow on how to parent. Right? We talked about it. I told her that hurt my feelings. Like, she's an 11-year-old. She doesn't really hate this family. She's got emotions inside she doesn't know how to deal with. So but if I'm like, I can't believe you said that. Do you know how good you have it? Right? That's not going to teach her anything in the moment. So I tried to stay calm. I did laugh inside that I was coming to teach this class the next day. And we repaired later. So I'm right there in it with you guys.